Hi, everyone, and welcome to another Light the Torch event with She Rise Studios. Today, we're focusing on a book that is just been released, Her Giving Journey. And I have one of the authors here with me today, Krista. We have a couple more that might be joining and popping in just a little bit. But Krista, thank you for taking time and joining us today on this Tuesday. So, Krista, why don't you introduce yourself, tell people where you're from, and what made you want to write in this book and a little bit about your chapter?
Sure. Well, my name is Krista Sobieski, and I live in central Wisconsin. And I guess I like to say I'm a freelance writer, and I really enjoy writing. And originally got involved with the She Rises Studio when I published my own book, Giving Into Hope, earlier this spring. And this title just intrigued me um, because I just think the power of kindness and giving really helps all of us. And my title of my chapter is Generous Hearts Help Heal the Broken, a journey through grief inspired by kindness. And I really focused on that in light of the death of my parents. When I lost my parents, my
Mhm.
mother had cancer, and my dad passed away the same day after. 3 hours later from a heart attack, and I just felt really broken and
Mhm.
really hurt by that. And of course, going through that kind of grief, anytime you lose someone is difficult. And I struggled because it was both of my parents,
Mhm.
those people who love you unconditionally. And I found myself struggling just to really want to do anything and really questioning, why this had happened to me, why these two people, that I love deeply, why they had to pass away and why the same day, and tried to make sense of that. But one of the things that I found is, there were so many people that were really trying to help me through that. But one of the
Mhm.
biggest things I found is that, when I started doing things for other people going through maybe
Mhm.
similar situations or just having bad days, how it really rewarded me um, when I started sharing my kindness, how it was kind of coming back, and it was kind of help pulling me out of that grief. And we actually went as far as creating a nonprofit in their memory, just to kind of hold their legacy up. And
Mhm.
I really did it for myself because I thought it was, I think selfishly, I was like, well, this is something I can do and I'm going to help all these people. But what I really learned is it did really help me, right? It really helped me
Yeah.
pull me out of the grief. But one of the things that was just, and not that everybody's story was filled with grief, but I just found out that when I started doing kind acts and we started helping others, it was just learning about their stories, and it really connected me to understand everyone has something, right? We all go, mine happened to be grief, it happened to be the death of my parents, but there were
Mhm.
people that had bigger stories. I don't want to say bigger, but maybe different stories. And even though we were very different and our stories were very different, we were very connected, and it became very healing to be able to,
Mhm.
use kindness to get out of that. So that's kind of what my chapter focuses on is, just some of the stories and some of the things that help pull me out of that deep grief, and how kindness and being giving was part of my journey to help heal me in a sense.
Yeah. Well, thank you for sharing that. And I think it is important. A lot of times when we give, it is part of our healing journey,
Hmm.
when we give back, and
Hmm.
paying it forward sometimes can really be just as important. And that process, and no matter if it's a grieving from a loss, if it's a change in your life, if it's so many of us down in the South have been impacted by these natural disasters recently. Um,
Exactly.
so sometimes, even when we help others in even a small way, can really help, us feel better about our own journey. Um,
Hmm.
so I do think it goes hand in hand, and the brilliance even just of the title, Her Given Journey.
Hmm.
Uh, and so many of the other stories in here are similar, even though they're completely different, women from completely different backgrounds and different journeys, but all how they used it to be positive. We can all curl up in a ball and cry, and sometimes we have to.
Hmm.
That's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. But how do we, stand up and move on? So I think it's beautiful that, you made that foundation in their name to keep their memory
Hmm.
going. And like you said, sometimes it might have felt selfishly, but I know so many people, I've talked to people that you have helped um,
Mhm.
through their grieving process. And you did mention your book that came out earlier this year. So could you mention that again? Because it is a really beautiful book for those who might be in the grieving process to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel. And that was her
Sure.
in her writing.
So, yeah, absolutely. So, Giving Into Hope was published again through She Rises earlier this year in May, I believe, is when it came out. And that book really focuses on just kind of it's a memoir of a 7 year period of my life and probably the darkest days of my life from my parents' death. I also, during that process, when I lost my parents, was going through a really challenging business matter where I was kind of targeted and was extremely stressful. So, when I talk in the sense of grief, and even, in that book, it's not just, for me, it was never just the grief of losing my parents. I mean, I essentially lost a career that I loved, or I felt like I was forced out of a career that I loved, lost a lot of my colleagues who were also my friends because there was a secrecy behind a lot of that. And it was really difficult. So, that Giving Into Hope book really kind of tells the story of those 7 years and some of the challenges that I faced and really how I overcame them and how I did finally find the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think the word hope is so connected to me. And I think with that being said, it's in the title of my first book. It's part of our foundation is unimaginable hope. And I think as long as you have hope, no matter what you're going through, whether that's grief or, like you said, grief to me is not just a loss or death. I mean, grief can be anything. I mean, the loss of homes, like you said, the people that recently went through the natural disasters. I mean, people lost their homes, their personal belongings. I mean, you worked a lifetime to earn those things and have homes and pay for them, and now they're gone, and how do you move through that? And I think that my solo book really just encompasses that of, as long as you have hope and you can focus on the next day
Mm,
and maybe not make it so overwhelming,
mhm.
you can get through it and you will get through it. And with that book, it's a very short read, quick book, and I think that's really just what I wanted it to be, because I
Mhm.
think the last thing someone wants to do is sit down and read a big long
A
book. I
novel
mean,
about
there's
grief.
wonderful. And so I hope that story
Yeah,
and all the anthologies that I'm part of, I hope it brings some light to the readers that
yes.
need it, and I think back of the people that helped me. And this is one of the things that I share, and I think I even touched this on my solo book a little bit, but I used to have a daily quote, I signed up for something online. So every day I would get a morning, like a
Mhm.
quote or a saying or something. And I cannot tell you, probably for a 5 year period, that was the first thing I did every morning as I
Just
went
to
to
look
my
at
phone
it.
and I looked for that email, and I would try to relate, like, how does this relate to my life? And like,
Mhm.
they were positive things, but like I would take that quote and I would this is what my day is going to be. So whatever the quote was, like I focused on that and I would hold on to that. And it was something so simple like that. But right, I mean, and those are the things, even with,
Yeah.
giving to others and just being kind. I think
Mhm.
it connects us, and we, when we share our stories and we're open about them, we learn about other people. And sometimes I think the beauty of that, um, is, again, we do it sometimes. I think we go into it selfishly thinking it's going to
Mhm.
help us, and it really does help us, because I think we learn about the other people's story, and then we don't focus so much on ours
Yeah.
because
Make
we're
use of that.
sharing in that. And that really is the kindness and beauty in it, right? Is
Yeah.
we learn from each other and we grow from each other. And when
Mhm.
we're open-minded, our own stories allow us to share, but what we get back from others is tenfold. I mean, it's
Yeah.
incredible. Like, even
It
being part of
is.
these books, like you read other
Mhm.
chapters and you're like,
Mhm.
wow.
Yeah, and great that you bring that up because, like we mentioned, Krista is not the only author in this book.
Mhm,
So we do have other chapters that dive into, some other topics. And you have Jenna Jonas, and she talks all about, the lifelong legacy, and just like generosity was always part of her life, and watching her mother being generous and deciding how she could be
mhm,
generous and how to give back. And then you have like Karen Rudolph, and hers is all about going from people pleaser to empowering inspirer, what that journey was like for her, how she helps other people, make that mindset change. And then you have, your story there, which is all about, overcoming grief and finding, something to continue that power. And then you have like Sonia's in there and generosity, healing for survivor of abuse, and kind of
Mhm.
how she has healed and helps others heal from those scenes. So lots of different perspectives in here. But like you said, a short read that someone can pick up and read through and find some commonality, find some, humanity, and then also just find some motivation to keep moving forward and to figure out ways how they can give back. And that's really the point of this book is finding that giving nature within yourself,
Mhm.
pulling it out and giving back. And coming right before Thanksgiving, I think it's a great time to highlight, because we're moving into November very shortly, just next month, and
Mhm.
people kind of change that mindset of giving back and being generous and generosity. And so I think it's a perfect timing for this book to come out. So if those you're looking forward for a thankful read, here you go.
Yeah.
Here's a short read you can read over the holiday and get yourself in the spirit and the good mindset, to end the year with and move into the new year. Uh,
Mhm.
well, Krista, thank you so much for joining us. And unfortunately, the other ladies haven't been to jump in now. We will have a panel discussion, and I'm hoping they can join us then,
Yes.
when the paperback comes out. But this is for the ebook. The ebook is available. And I will either have it with this post or in the comments with the post, where you guys can pick up your ebook copy. So please go get your copy now for Her Given Journey, stories of, both of our CEOs are in the book, and then we have four other authors. So it's six short stories, good reads of women giving back and paying it forward. And thank you again, Krista, for joining us. You can also go check out her book, um, that came out in May. Also another She Rise production. We're so grateful to have you here with us and you sharing your stories and be part of your journey and giving back on, an even larger level than you do already.
Thank you. Thank you. It's great to be here. And again, it's been a wonderful experience to be part of these books and, just sharing, right? Sharing and giving. And again, I think the more you give, the more you get back. And it's just really a rewarding experience. And I'm just really grateful to be part of these and part of this book. Thank you, Heather.
All right. Well, thank you for being part, saying yes, and sharing all of your beautiful give back and knowledge with us. So, everybody, have an amazing rest of your week. Chris, again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Everybody, go grab your copy of the book.
Thank you. Have a great day.
Bye.